The dense jungle thrived with life, its cacophony of sounds enveloping the huntress as she moved silently through the undergrowth. Her senses heightened, her every step calculated and deliberate. She had spent years honing her craft, learning the ways of the wild, becoming one with its rhythms. Her target, a man of cunning and skill, had fled into the labyrinth of green days ago, and she had followed, her resolve unwavering, her focus sharp, her mind a fortress against fatigue, doubt, or fear. The jungle teemed with obstacles, vines twisted like serpents, eager to ensnare careless feet. The soil, slick with rain, threatened to betray her presence, yet she adapted, using her instincts, her knowledge, her experience, to guide her movements through the maze of towering trees. In dense foliage she tracked her prey, each broken branch, each faint impression in the earth, each whisper of disturbed leaves, spoke to her, revealing the story of his passage. The huntress had grown accustomed to the solitude of her pursuit, her heartbeat the only companion to the rhythm of her steps and breaths. The jungle seemed alive around her, its creatures observing her progress, some curious, some wary, some indifferent. Her path led her deeper into the heart of this vibrant wilderness, where the canopy above filtered sunlight into dappled pools of golden light and shadow. The air, heavy with the scent of earth and greenery, was thick and humid, clinging to her skin like a second layer. The man she pursued was no ordinary quarry. He was cunning, resourceful, dangerous. His evasion was not a mere act of desperation, but a calculated game of cat and mouse. He left false trails and traps to mislead and hinder her, yet she persevered, deciphering his strategies with patience and determination. She was the huntress. After all, this was her domain, her element, her purpose. Each night she found refuge in the trees above the forest floor, where predators roam. Her senses remained alert even in rest, her mind mapping the landscape of her journey, recalling every detail of her pursuit. She knew the man was close. She could feel it in the subtle shifts of the environment, the absence of certain sounds, the sense of being watched, as if the jungle itself conspired with her prey to challenge her resolve. She pressed on, her steps sure, her resolve unyielding. But as the days stretched into nights and the nights into days, a new awareness began to creep into her thoughts. She could no longer deny the sense that the roles had shifted subtly, insidiously. The hunter was becoming the hunted. The jungle seemed to echo with this revelation, its shadows deeper, its sounds sharper, its presence more menacing. She could not pinpoint the moment it began, when her confidence faltered, when her assured steps felt hesitant, when the weight of unseen eyes bore down upon her. But she knew she could not ignore it. The man she pursued had turned the tables. His cunning matched her skill, his resolve mirrored her own. He used the jungle against her as she had used it against him, blending into its shadows, manipulating its secrets to his advantage. She found herself retracing her steps, only to discover new traps, new signs of his awareness of her presence. He was no longer running. He was waiting, watching, preparing. Her thoughts raced her mind, a tempest of doubt and strategy. She refused to succumb to fear, to weakness. She drew upon her training, her experience, her unyielding will to survive. Yet the jungle itself seemed to conspire against her, its labyrinthine paths confounding her, its silence oppressive, its vibrant life now a constant reminder of her vulnerability. The man was always one step ahead, his presence a specter, haunting her every move. She could feel him lurking in the shadows, his gaze burning into her back. She could hear the echoes of his steps merging with her own, the whisper of his breath carried on the wind. She tried to outwit him, to anticipate his moves, to reclaim the role of the hunter. But he was relentless, his strategy impeccable, his will as unbreakable as hers. The huntress began to question herself, her choices, her certainty. She felt the weight of isolation, the burden of her singular focus, the realization that she was no longer alone in this pursuit. Her prey had become her equal, her adversary, her reflection in the heart of the jungle. The days blurred into a haze of motion and exhaustion. Her body weary, her mind strained, her spirit tested. She could no longer distinguish her footsteps from his, her breath from his, her existence from his. They were bound together by the hunt, their fates entwined, their struggle, a mirror reflecting the primal dance of survival and dominance. She found herself at a crossroads in the depths of the jungle, where the canopy parted to reveal the open sky. The moonlight bathed the clearing in a silver glow, illuminating the tableau of predator and prey. She stood there, her senses attuned, her body coiled like a spring, her eyes scanning the shadows, her breath steady. She knew he was there, watching, waiting, challenging her. She felt the weight of his presence, the intensity of his resolve, the inevitability of their confrontation. She realized in that moment that the jungle had claimed them both. It was no longer a matter of who would emerge victorious, who would claim the mantle of hunter or prey. It was a matter of survival, of existence, of becoming one with the wild around them. She stepped forward, her movements fluid, her intentions clear. She was the huntress, no longer the hunted, no longer the woman, no longer. She was the jungle, the breath of its life, the pulse of its rhythm, the embodiment of its will. Her adversary emerged from the shadows, his form a silhouette against the moonlit clearing, his eyes locked with hers, his expression a mirror of her own resolve. They circled each other, their movements a dance of instinct and strategy, their presence a testament to the primal truth that governed them. They were neither hunter nor prey, they were one, their struggle eternal, their essence bound to the jungle that had shaped them, claimed them, consumed them.